champions from U.S. table tennis and USA table tennis for certain, Si Wasserman and Patty Wasserman. Si and Patty, let me welcome you to our Pong Positive interview series.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, it's really nice to have you all. I know you're out there in beautiful, sunny Southern California in Oceanside. I'm hoping that everybody is doing well and feeling well during this moment of difficulty here with the pandemic.
Thank you, Mark. We're doing really good. Si just had his 98th birthday, and he's doing good. I'm doing good. Southern California is the place to be.
Absolutely. Well, I'm an April 15th birth, so I saw this in April 16th. So, Si, you and I were cut from the same cloth here, just so you know.
He was born on April 15th.
So, happy birthday, Si. How about that? Why don't we start there?
Thank you, Mark.
Well, it's great to have you both on. Obviously, you know, we're talking a little bit in our series about the history of table tennis, and I don't know if there's two people who would know more about the history of table tennis and go back farther than you and Si, Patty. Certainly Si, dating back to the 40s and 50s, certainly has seen a lot of developments over the course of the table tennis history in America.
That's for sure. He was active in the 40s, of course. You were the captain of the men's and women's team, U.S. team to Dortmund, England, right?
Dortmund, Germany.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, for the World Championships. That was in 1959.
That's certainly quite an accomplishment. I know that one of the big developments, or one of the things that Si is very proud of, was his table tennis center that he had there in Los Angeles for a very long time, and was very important in the development of the sport in Southern California.
Yeah, that was in Hollywood.
Right. Yeah, we had many young players who learned to play at my center, and then some of the fellows who were accomplished also practiced there, and those players won over 50 national and international championships during the 1950s.
I was going to say, you've obviously seen a lot of development since then, and in and around that time, it's my understanding that there was this kind of question as to whether sponge was going to be permitted, or was really an acceptable way of playing, the acceptable part of the equipment of table tennis. And I know that Si was involved in that whole process, and I wonder what he remembers, Patty, about, you know, the developments of the racket itself, from, you know, essentially a hard bat to where more rubber compounds were used on the racket.
We had a young player who was 11 years old when he started playing at my center, Erwin Klein. He went on to win 4 U.S. Opens, and he and his partner, Leah Newberger of New York City, won the last U.S. world title in 1956 in the Japan World Championships. And it's amazing. Erwin learned pretty much on his own. There were no coaches in the 1950s, and he practiced with the better players, practiced hard, as much as 6 or 8 hours a day, and developed into one of the top players in the world.
Well, we talk about winning U.S. Opens. Patty, that's something that you are well familiar with. 3-time U.S. Champion, United States champion, including one of the most historic victories of all time in 1965.
1965.
When you were just a young lass, I would say, 13 years of age, and took on a longtime veteran championship and came back in Game 5, a very dramatic come-from-behind victory. I know that was honored in 2015, the 50th anniversary of that event. That had to be just an unbelievable event. What do you remember from that day, Patty? That comeback victory over Leah Newberger that day?
I remember people going crazy, and I couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand why. I played a game and I won, and all of a sudden it kind of scared me, you know, because I have tunnel vision when I play. It's just me, the opponent, and everybody else doesn't exist. And when I won, all of a sudden I saw people and people crying. Uh, I remember somebody from somewhere lifted me up and twirled me around. Uh, I remember it very well. Yeah.
Well, I noted that there was at one point of the match, you're down 20-15 in five. And a couple of people who were commentating on the match that I've seen have said that you showed absolute utter calm during those moments. And it doesn't sound, and in recounting the event, it doesn't sound like you were overwhelmed at all. Quite to the contrary. It sounds like you were just like, what's the big deal here?
Yeah, yeah. And I guess that's how I play up until this day. Two people if it's singles, four if it's doubles, you play. And my daddy always told me, he was my original coach. He always told me, and he put things in the simplest terms. Now, it may sound simple, but he said, if you want to win, just don't miss. Now, that sounds just ridiculously simple, but there's far more to it than that. How do you not miss? Does that mean you slam it so that the opponent doesn't get it? Does that mean you drop shot it so that they pop it up and you can hit it? So it's not that simple,
It's
but
not
yet
that
it
simple,
is.
but it is.
Yes, it
You're
is.
absolutely right. And I think it's instructive that sometimes when the pressure becomes the greatest, the best thing to do is to be at your most relaxed. And I know
That's
that
right.
seems to be a trait that you had throughout your career, is that you had that
No fear.
capability of maintaining that relaxation at critical moments.
No fear. I probably the last time I kind of had an inkling of fear is when I entered the U.S. Open women's sandpaper event.
Hmm.
And I hadn't had very much practice in sandpaper, but it came kind of natural. And I saw some women practicing, and I thought, oh my God, what am I doing entering this event? But I won it. I won the US Open sandpaper event, and I also won the US Open regular event, and I won the US Open hardbat event in the
Wow,
women's.
the trifecta. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't know how many, not in the same year, but I don't know how many
Still.
people have done that. But what you are saying is that the no fear part,
Hmm.
it's table tennis. Anybody can win.
Well, I
I
know
believe.
that's been a big part of Si's career as well, has been as a coach. He wrote I think one of the certainly most well known and one of the early books about coaching in table tennis. And I know that's been something that's been very important to him over the course of his lifetime, is conveying these concepts of improvement to other players.
Your coaching, your coaching. Talk about your coaching and your ability to coach and analyze people's games.
Right. Well, I owned and operated the California Table Tennis Center, and as such, I was behind the counter, not playing or coaching much of the time. But when I did coach, uh, I had hundreds of players that I taught or had them play their first actual games, and I charged $5 per lesson,
That's
and
pretty
that
good
was
value.
necessary because it was a commercial table tennis center, and the rent was $300 a month, and in the 1950s, that was a huge
That's a
amount.
lot.
That is a
So I
lot.
spent my time playing and practicing, coaching, playing in tournaments, and so on. My best result was a young girl named Sharon Acton. She developed very well. Eventually won the U.S. Open singles and doubles with her partner Valerie Smith Green, Jones. And I also taught a young girl who won the national girls title named Charlene Hanson.
Mm.
And among the other players whom I either helped to some extent or at least had the facility for them to play, we developed some national titles among the boys and girls. Um, Actually, from my coaching, my best result in playing was 2 years ago in the World Veterans in Las Vegas.
Mm.
I was the only American player to win 2 medals, silver in the doubles with my partner Nick Ganji of Somerville, Mass, and a bronze in the singles. And that's probably my best accomplishment as a player.
He's
Well,
still a
Tim,
killer on the table.
oh, I
Let's
know he
see it.
is. Believe me, I get it. I've seen Si go at it, and he would wipe the table up with me personally. But it was interesting. I was contacted by somebody not too long ago talking about World Veterans Championships that were going to be played in Bordeaux this year, but I believe they've actually postponed it till next year. And
Yes.
he contacted me, and basically his comment was he's been trying to force the organizers of WVC to have a 95 and over category specifically for Psy. So Psy would essentially waltz through the over 95s and get another medal, for crying out loud.
Yeah, technically, I'm the #1 player in the world for my age, which should be
God bless
95
you.
and up. And
Oh
that of
man,
course is
that is awesome.
strictly theoretical.
Well, I know that Sai's have got many talents, obviously, and one of them is as a writer. And we talked about him writing that table tennis book back in 1963. But also, Patty, he's somewhat famous for writing a poem about your 1965 victory in the U.S. Open, which is, of course, an epic poem. And I find it just fascinating that not only does Sai write you this poem, or write the poem about your victory, but that how many years later that you two were able to meet one another again and ultimately develop a friendship and then a love that led to the marriage that you have now.
Yeah, Hollywood can't write that
No,
kind of stuff.
no
Can't,
one would
can't
believe
write
it.
that kind of stuff. There's
Right.
a big age difference, but golly, he's crazy cool. I mean, you'd have to. He makes me laugh every single day. You know, he's very witty. I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't fall in love with him?
Absolutely. Well, Cy certainly brings a lot of joy to everybody's life, as do you, Patty. And we noted, but both of you are still out there playing table tennis. I watch both of you play, and both of you still play like young people and with having that fun. It appears to me that you're still excited by the game, which says, I think, a lot about table tennis itself.
Pong positive. Truly, Pong positive has been alive long before Pong positive became a really. We love playing table tennis. We miss our friends. We have our robot here. We're in our table tennis room right now, and we play, and that's good. But there's something about being with our friends and going to tournaments and watching other players and having that closeness. That's all part of it. And there's nothing like table tennis for that, because you can be old, you can be young, you can be super old, super young, and it's all good. The table tennis has changed throughout the years. Equipment has changed, coaching has changed, the ball has changed, the scoring has changed. But one thing has never changed, and that's the spirit of the game, the excitement, the will to win, the no fear, the goal. So it's gonna last.
Well, that's absolutely some great comments there, Patty. I think that really does encapsulate the entire sport, the entire spirit, and certainly where we are right now. I'm curious from Sai's perspective, as a gentleman who's seen so much over the course of his life. I mean, we could go back and recount so many historic events over the last 98 years. Certainly the one that we're in right now is as dramatic as any that we've ever had. I'm wondering from Si's perspective, what his thoughts are as the world seeks to combat this current coronavirus, this COVID-19, and the effort to get back to a somewhat normal lifestyle, the lifestyle that we're more used to.
That's for you.
I didn't catch it.
I'm curious about your thoughts about this pandemic that we're in right now, Si. With your level of experience and the history that you've had, the things that you've seen, what do you draw from the circumstances that we find ourselves in right now?
What are your thoughts about the coronavirus, and how has your life experiences brought that to bear on how you view it now, and basically what you see in the future?
Yeah, well, it was a devastating blow to all sports in the U.S. in particular. And I've been staying at home like old timers were instructed. And I did catch a non-coronavirus flu. I got through that. So it's been quite an experience. And I'll be so delighted to get back to playing and possibly coaching.
Well, I can't wait till you are as well, Si. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. I'm so happy to hear that you're doing well. Patty, the same for you. Obviously, I want to thank you for your time. I know that the both of you together are as Pong positive as two human beings can possibly be. Congratulations on your love story. Congratulations on all of your accomplishments over the course of your history. And thank you for being a part of this Pong Positive interview series.
Thank you for being a good interviewer and making us feel good and Pong positive to everybody.
You all have a great day. Enjoy the Southern, as much as you can. Enjoy Southern California. We're going to be back out and enjoying everything again in the not too distant future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Take
Be
care,
well.
Si. You too. Be well. Take care. Thanks again, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Hi everyone, this is Mark Thompson. I wanted to take a moment to thank Si and Patty Wasserman not only for participating in our Pong Positive interview series, but also for everything that they do for the sport of table tennis, and particularly for young people who enjoy playing our sport. Those efforts include funding the Nate Wasserman Memorial Scholarship Awards that are presented at the U.S. Nationals every year, as well as the Si and Patty Wasserman Junior Classic. That's a tournament that's been run by Danny Seemiller in Highland, Indiana since 2007. And in that tournament, winners of events from ages 10 to 18 receive cash prizes to defray their tournament expenses. Si and Patty tell me that their goal is to inspire youngsters to compete and fall in love with our wonderful sport, and we all thank them for that.